Well, good evening, everybody. This is not happening on the 11th house side of things tonight. I apologize for that. I seem to be not, I'm not, they're not allowing me to stream live on the other channel. So, what do we have going on here? Let me see. Yeah. Um, I really don't dig the fact that I can't get to my other channel now, and nobody's ever around on the weekends. You can't get to anybody on the weekends, which is also a pain in the ass, especially now because we have this so-called coronavirus. There's no customer service, depleted staffs. And we've just been time traveled into the Soviet Union right around 1965, really. So I apologize. I got the alert good. I'm glad. Hey, Joan. There's CG. What's happening? Sandra, Judy, Carrie Rose, Justice. I don't know why. I'm going to have to deal with Zoom tomorrow and try to figure out why it's just automatically just shooting me over to this account now. And I don't get it. I don't get it. So I'm wearing my time travel shirt. I think if I wear this and I, kind of hit the right angle of the horizon with the vestiges of the super moon, I might be able to actually go back to the 1970s. Apparently, I did not see the what was it, the Infinity War or Endgame. I think it's Endgame, the Avengers. I didn't see that movie, but I did look up who died today, and I wanted to see who died. So apparently, well, I'm not going to tell you died because you might actually see the movie. And that would be awfully naughty of me now, wouldn't it? I'd be a naughty astrologer. Um, but I did find out that Captain America winds up going back to the 1970s. In that movie, he time travels to the 1970s. And if I could time travel, I'd go back to the 1970s as well. So I'm wearing my disco shirt from the 1970s tonight. By the way, this will be the last Sunday night with this computer. I'm going to show you that. Just look right here. Oh yeah, see that monitor? That's a monitor right there. It's not a portal of Saturn. That monitor is going to be part of the new show, the new computer. I got it right down here, right down there. Look who else I have tonight. The Queen. There she is. Yeah, people were saying, how come I don't see Rosie? How come I only see Jasper? And I said, look, she's shy. She's a little more shy than Jasper is. And so, but tonight she wanted to get right in and take care of business. Isn't that right, Rosie? Isn't that right? Anything you want to say to people tonight? Huh? Anything you want to say? Yeah, she's on the shy side. So, yeah, I scored the computer. I'm happy about that. And it's more than a computer. It's like a freaking server that's masquerading as a computer. And I fired it up and I got online. And let me tell you, great stuff. Great stuff. I might even give it a spin tomorrow on 15 minutes because I've got the thing. Here's the deal. Like, so it's not like that monitor does not have a built-in camera. Okay. So I have to get a webcam, and you can't get webcams now. I mean, you can, but they're hard to come by and they're very expensive, and they take a while. So why do we have so few webcams around? Well, we have so few webcams around because people are using them to meet at home and do their work at home. Yeah. So I'm in the hunt to get a webcam. That's my plan. So I had a crazy experience on Thursday. I wound up getting scammed from somebody. It was a total inside job at PayPal. Total inside job. So somebody was calling me the PayPal number. So I'm picking up the phone. It's the PayPal number. And I actually wound up getting a number of texts from PayPal saying that somebody had been using my card in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm going along with this thing. Okay. I'm going along with this thing because it sounds very legit. And while I'm going along with this thing, my account's getting drained. And it was like very sophisticated. So I thought, okay, well, they're going to deal with this. They're going to reverse those charges. 48 hours later, I go into my PayPal account. It's like blood dry. I had money in there, but it was only because I did some business after the fact. So I had to get on the phone this morning, talk to PayPal, and resurrect my account. That's what I had to do. I had to resurrect my account. And so it was a little painful, but I think I'll probably, have my funds returned. So I put this over on Facebook and I put it on Twitter. And essentially you see Rosie, little cameo appearance. Give it up for Rosie. That if PayPal calls you, it is not PayPal. Okay. They don't do that. They do not do that. So there's a lot of phishing going on, a lot of phishing, and with the phishing stuff, they're kind of like getting away with it in some ways because these companies are understaffed. I bought something from eBay about 2 weeks ago, and they sent it to the wrong address. You can't even get anybody live on eBay now. This is. I mean. So, this is another part of the crisis. This is another part of the quote unquote Corona crisis, is that these businesses are woefully understaffed, especially on the CS side of things. So, and then of course, local government, city government, state government, they're not meeting. They're not meeting. So if you have a beef and you want to take it to them, that's not happening. You can't really talk to anybody. Congress, they said, well, Congress has gone home. Where's home? Some underground bunker somewhere? Has Congress bugged out as well? So the good news here for Texas is that it looks like Greg Abbott might be turning the switch back on slowly for the residents of this state. For those of you who live in the United Socialist states of Michigan and Kentucky, I'm sorry, but you're kind of fucked because your governors have turned into premier petty tyrants. And I feel sorry for you. Apparently there is a petition. 80,000 people have signed a petition to recall Christine Esther Whitmer, who's now become a cause celeb. They're going to launch her, right? They're going to use this as she takes on Trump and basically goes like this right here. I'm going to do this. Goes like this right there to the people of Michigan. That's what's happening. And she's going to be a hero. It's, what it's like? It's like 1984. It's like 1984. Where they talk about Winston Smith talks about the 2 or 3 minutes of hate, or that's the only emotion that is acceptable. You can't feel anguish. Lord knows, like you can't feel grief. Like grief is not only a luxury, but grief is when I say it, not only is but it's also like radioactive. Here and again, I want to try to lay this out. I'm going to get into the astrology. Don't worry, I got a lot to go over tonight. Okay, a lot to go over. But let's be clear about where we are. The world that existed pre 311. Now remember also, 311 was 31111. 31111. That is when Fukushima happened. on 3/11/11, and on 3/11 2020 22, right? If we take 2020, we put the two 20s together, we get two twos. So now we have 3/11/11 and 3/11/22. They love that shit, don't they? They love it. So you put the two threes together, you get a 6, right? And you put 11 and 11 together, and then you get 22, and then you get, so 22, and then another 22 is 44, and then you get another 11. Was that 55? They love those numbers. You have 55 and the 2 3s, 6. So you've got what, 55, 10, 16, 7. Anyway, so if you look at it, right, and it was 11, basically what, 9 years. It's a 9-year cycle, which is the end of a cycle, right? An initiation of a new cycle. So 3/11/11 and 3/11/2020 are kind of these bookmarks in a lot of ways. And we bring Fukushima into it. And during that time, Fukushima, Uranus was at 29 degrees Pisces, and then Neptune was at like 29 degrees Aquarius, so very close, right? So they were both flipping. Neptune was going to go into Pisces, and Uranus was going to go into Aries at that time. Very explosive. Those final degrees are very, and I've written a lot about through the 3/11 event on 3/11/2011. So here we have another 3/11, but that world's done. Okay, it's over. It is over. So I want to talk a little bit about grief. And I want to talk a little bit about passing and passages. I'm blessed in a lot of ways because the people that kind of circumnavigate into my life for readings, a lot of these people have experienced real tragedy, like heavy tragedy, and I think that that's a blessing in a lot of ways, to experience heavy tragedy and not have it become a force for transformation. I think it's a real blessing. And I don't want to get into the details too much, but or get in the weeds too much. But I've had some events in my life, over the last few years, where I had to say goodbye to certain things, and it was very painful, very, very painful. And so I've gone through my own process of grief. Okay, I've gone through my own process of grief for the things of my life. And so when we talk about something like the cremation of care, some of you guys know what that is, right? The cremation of care, it's an esoteric or an occult ritual where theoretically you murder your ability to care. It's the cremation of care. And a lot of times this could be a symbolic act of ritual murder, or it can actually be a real act of ritual murder. And then as a result of that, you essentially absolve yourself of caring about anything. Right? This is what the psychopaths do. And once they absolve themselves from caring about anything, that means they have free reign to do anything and everything, because they don't care. They have no care. They got no care in the world. You have to remember that these are the people that we're dealing with. Okay? These are the people that we're dealing with. They don't give a shit. You think Bill Gates or Anthony Fauci has a deep, abiding sense of care for people? Study their body language and listen to them, and you'll realize that there's not a hair of care in them or on them, that they're coming from a very different place. And we're going to go back into Bill Gates' chart tonight, by the way. So they've already murdered their conscience. They've already divested themselves of care. And so here's the rest of us, kind of walking around with our hearts on our sleeves or our guts hanging out for most of our lives, right? And trying to stay in touch with these things that are real and valid and true that make us and keep us human. Meanwhile, these guys and women, by the way, who have ritually murdered the ability to care in their lives, they're riding roughshod over the whole planet. But then they put on this mask of caring, which is the most ironic thing. But let me just boil this down here and try to synthesize this. That world, the 311 world, is gone. It's never coming back, ever again. And here's the difficult part. It's kind of like, have you ever been in a relationship that's over and you're really holding out hope beyond hope that there's going to be some great sign or there's going to be some, tectonic shift in the relationship that allows you and your partner to all of a sudden have a reset and begin anew again? Have you ever had that moment and you're naively thinking that it's actually going to happen? In some cases it does happen, but it's pretty rare. But you're hanging on to some hope, but really the relationship is dead. It's dead. And really what you're doing is just trying to, put it on intubation, like the relationship's on a ventilator, but it's dead, but you're holding on, right? This is where we are now. Like pre-311 is dead. But people are holding on for hope, like, oh, it's going to be okay. And we're going to be able to go back. And when are we going to be able to go back? And every time I listen now to Trump and his crew, it becomes more of a fucking confusing hall of mirrors than ever before. Like he just had this tweet, basically said, states get ready. Make sure your ventilators and you've got your masks up. Like, I think that they could be getting ready to throw down a national mask ultimatum. Like, you will not be able to leave your house without a mask. I think that's coming. I think it's coming. I think it's going to happen. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about walking around with a mask on? I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to walk around with my big fucking cat head. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to start wearing the cat head. That's going to be my mask. You want to play the game? Well, let's get super absurd with it. So that could happen, but they keep ratcheting, going back. It's like you're out in the ocean and the boat is rocking back and forth, and you're getting kind of queasy. And you're wishing you'd taken some Dramamine. But that's what's happening, right? It's the intubation. It is the intubation of hope. We are on a ventilator of hope that the world is going to somehow kind of come back, and it's not going to come back. And here's the difficult part, because people are trying to suspend their disbelief around what's happening, because people are trying to do their best to be good Americans, because people are trying their best to keep their hope alive. They're not being able to process grief. This is a big deal. This is a really, really big deal. Because once you process, like, whether it's a relationship or somebody that you know and love dies, once you process the grief, you're almost untouchable at that point. You're almost untouchable. You've gotten to the same place that these psychopaths go when they participate in their ritual murder of care, but you're able to do it in a way where there's actual emotion and there's an actual sense of loss and real grieving. Grieving till you cry, and you cry till you're pounding your fist on the floor and there's nothing left, right? See, that's the kind of grief. And if we could get to that kind of grief collectively, we might have a shot at this. We just might. I remember one time when I was back in the music business, I used to have to deal with these guys from New York. They had a record label, and they were like, they were these guys whose shit didn't stink because they thought they had a really great record label, and actually it was a very successful record label. And I'm not going to name any names. I'm not going to name the label. And I actually kind of became slightly friendly with the owner of the label. I wouldn't say buddy buddy by any chance, but I'd say slightly friendly. But every time I got on the phone with these guys, I would feel like they were trying to move me around because I was their guy inside this business that I worked for. And I never really dug it, I mean, I just didn't dig it because they had all this capital in terms of their niche and their product and all this stuff. And but I did my best to get along with these guys and try to do business with them. And then there was a period. I had a dog, had a really great dog, and my dog died. He died, and it was a very, for me, a very painful situation. He was with me for 14 years. And then I grieved. I grieved over the loss of my dog, and nobody really knew about it at work. They knew I had this dog, and some people had come over and knew my dog. And so when I went to work, I didn't tell anybody, and I kept it kind of on the down low. And then that day, I had a meeting with those guys from that label, and I was in just such a different place. I was in such a different space. And it was like any kind of chords or anything that they hooked into me with, whatever that was, New York, label status, whatever that was, right? It was just gone. It wasn't there. And I was able to deal with these guys in a completely different way. And it was like, I didn't really give a fuck. And that's what happens when you go through grief. And they're doing us a real disservice by propagating the fantasy that we're all going to be able to go back to our lives. What they're doing is they're not allowing us to grieve. I mean, it's a really, really important part of the process because I guarantee you there are people that if and when they throw the switch back on, that when they go back, they won't have a job. They will not have a job. Or they won't have a business. And these people are scrambling around trying to get an SBA loan and to try to keep their thing going. So they can't afford to grieve. They can't afford to say, the game is over. And they always, and the mantra is, we're going to come back bigger, better, and stronger than ever before, right? The dead cat is going to bounce up to the top of the World Freedom Tower. That's how big the bounce is going to be. And I know that if you're in business, I could never really be in business because I'm too cynical in a lot of ways. And when you're in business, you've got to be positive all the time. And I do my best to be positive. Don't get me wrong, but it's my cynical nature that allows me to step outside of things and see things from a different perspective. So I wouldn't be good for running a big business unless I was just a complete and utter fuck, in which case I could fake everything and be completely insincere and take, just take the spoils from my competitors and the public in general. So people that have businesses are preternaturally more positive than other people in a lot of ways because it's been their positive energy and their positive outlook, and their tomorrow's going to be better than the day before. And I don't care what kind of challenges or struggles or strife that we experienced yesterday. Tomorrow we get a leg up and we get a handle on it. And that's how people create businesses. And I've seen it in action. It's the positive mindset. And right now, I guarantee you, there are millions of Americans who are doing their best. They're holding on to their positivity like a piece of cat gut. That's it. And what will happen when the switch comes back on, if it does come back on, by the way, what will happen when they go back and the small business loans aren't there, and they find out that the landlord has decided to do something different with their space. That okay, well, I had you here, and you couldn't come up with your rent for 6 months, so I decided that I can't afford you now, and I've got to do something different. So I'm cutting you loose so that when the lights come back on again, I can have a different kind of because I know you're not going to have any money, right? So and you know what'll happen after that? What'll happen after that is the next thing, whatever the next thing is, whether it's this week or next week or the week after. Oh, by the way, where are we now? It's October 12th, right? Hey, when are these fucking days of darkness coming? When are they coming? Well, who said we'd have these 3 days of darkness or 10 days of darkness? Was this supposed to start April 1st? It's metaphoric darkness. Is that it? Well, the lights were on and power was on because, the white hats somehow managed to do something different and avert the crisis. But the real darkness is the darkness that's being exposed for those who have eyes to see. I haven't seen the 10 Days of Darkness. Anyway, the next thing will happen. And then guess what? People will be reacting to the next thing. And they'll be nervous or anxious. And then maybe the next thing somehow has a little trinket of hope, a little dangling trinket of hope. Oh, it's this. Come on, we got to hold on a little bit longer. I know things are tough. I know things are bad. This, we're better than this. This is what made our country great, right? And then that door slams shut. And then the next thing we're living in an American 21st century lockdown, a global lockdown. And then what happens? You got any room for grief in that situation? No, you won't have any room for grief because the next thing is going to happen, and the next thing is going to happen, and the next thing is going to happen. Until finally, reality has become so different, and we're going to find ourselves in a different place. It'll be the same place, but it'll be very different. And we're going to look around, and we're not going to recognize the world that we're living in. Now, some of you say, well, hey, that's great. That sounds a lot like ascension to me. Sounds good to me. Well, maybe that's the case. Maybe you'll be able to do that. Maybe that's going to happen. You keep doing your love and light thing, and who knows? You might land, maybe on Venus, the morning star. Who knows? But I think for the majority of the world, I'm not going to say the rest of us, I'm not going to put myself in that category, but for the majority of the world, this is what's going to happen. And there's no grief. There's no space for grief. None. And the best thing that people could do right now, and I think look, don't buy into fear. Don't buy into fear. But I believe a number of people have had a lot of grief along the way. And some of you, even within the last 2 years, a significant amount of grief. And you've gone through your grief. You've gone through the valley of the shadow of death. So in a lot of ways, I don't care if Major League Baseball ever comes back again or the NFL ever comes back again. I won my fantasy league this year. I went out on top. I'm good with that. So I don't care, though. I'm not going to miss those things. If they never come back again, I will not miss them. I had a really nice relationship with sports. It was a really interesting thing for me on a number of different levels. Yeah. What about music? Live performances? Man, I haven't missed live performances in my life. And I've gone to some of the great concerts of all time. I saw the Rolling Stones in 1977. I saw Led Zeppelin in 1977. I've seen just about every band that I ever wanted to see, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3. Here's the bands that I always wanted to see. 4. Make it 4. I always wanted to see Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd in their prime between 1974 to like 1977, 78. Okay, that would have been a great show. Didn't see him. Bob Marley. I wish I could have seen Bob Marley. I did see the Wailers without Bob Marley, with Junior Murvin on vocals. That was a great show. I did not see the Sex Pistols. Of course, not many people did, but I had a chance. I wish I could have seen the Sex Pistols. And who's the other band? Oh, look who's here now. The first edition of Genesis with Peter Gabriel. I wish I would have seen those guys. And that's about it. I've seen just about everybody else that I wanted to, right? So, but who wants to go see live music now? I looked at the top 200. I'm like, who are these people? I didn't recognize hardly any of them. And the ones that I did recognize, like Taylor Swift or whatever, it's like, who cares? So there's a lot of stuff that I don't really care if it ever comes back again. I don't. But I think that there are people that do and will. Like I watch these guys on the morning talk shows talk about sports. And the longer this thing goes on, they're going to have less and less to talk about. And I'm seeing some of them really lose their shit. They're going to have to grieve. They are going to have to grieve. And I think for those of us who haven't grieved, I think it'd be good. Oh, I just discovered something here. Cool. Just discovered I have these USB ports on the side of my new monitor. I can plug my webcam in when I get it. So if we grieved, if somebody had a directive, I mean, since Anthony Fauci seems to be more powerful than Trump at this point, and Fauci had a directive for everybody to grieve, maybe, just maybe, people might grieve. I've been practicing my Anthony Fauci, by the way. Let me see if I can do it. All right, let's see here. I want to tell the American people right now that what you want to do is you want to grieve, okay? You really want to grieve. You want to cry your fucking ass off right now because let me tell you, I've just ended your fucking world. I am the angel of death, okay? So I implore you to grieve. Please grieve. And if you don't grieve, then we're going to send somebody over to your house, okay? To put their boot on your neck, and then you'll really start to grieve. So you have a choice. You can grieve now in your mitigation or not. And then maybe people might actually grieve. They're too busy choosing sides still. They're too busy choosing sides. Oh, look who's here. The astrological cat. There he is. There he is. Oh, yeah. The lion. The lion. This is the Tiger King right here. They should do, Netflix should do a show on Jasper, the true Tiger King. All right. Jasper, your presence is always welcome. Okay, I'm about ready to get into some charts here. Let me see what you guys are talking about, Chatlandia. I say Bill Gates into vaccinations. Hey, Jennifer, nice to see you. I should have seen Nirvana. Ooh, Nirvana. That would have been a good one. Soundgarden. Yeah, that was, yeah. Not at the top of my list, but I could tell that would have been good. Let's see. Have you guys seen Marina Abramovic? Yes, I have. Yes, I have. She's going to be the high priestess of Oculus, taking us into she is going to, now talk about a ritual with Marina Abramovic. She's going to take us into the virtual realms. That's what she's here to do. She is here to initiate us into the virtual realms. And one of my, I hate to say this, okay, but one of my best friends, well, not a best friend, but she's a really good friend. I've known her for years. Her son has been working with Marina Abramovic on virtual reality and augmented reality. And that's exactly, what Microsoft is bringing forward. She's the high priestess of the virtual realm. That's what she is. That's what they're casting her as. So yes, Rob, that's let's see, Green Day. So I used to live in Berkeley, and I used to go to the Berkeley post office, and it used to be quite crowded. And one day I was in there, and Billy Joe Armstrong was in there with his wife. and looking very uncomfortable, waiting for something. But he was there, and some guy had sent me this thesis on punk rock, and I don't know why I was carrying it around. I think it came through in a letter. And it was his thesis on punk. He was like, I worked at this magazine. We always get crazy letters, and so I gave him the letter. So here, man, it's his thesis on punk rock. I work for this magazine. This guy just said you might like it. But yeah, he was at the Berkeley post office. Let's see, who else do we have? Grieve, but do not rub your eyes. Oh, I love that. The Crimmies coming in. How telling the high priestess of Satan is going to usher us into virtual reality. Absolutely, Shauna. You guys want to see the commercial? You want to see Miss Abramovic? Miss Abramovic? Let's see if I can find it. Let's see if I could find it. Oh, Jasper. I had it up here. Look at this. I had it up here. Jasper, the astrological cat. The astrological cat. Oh, what do you got here? Hold on now. Okay, let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. All right, here we go. What do we got? Let's see. Hold on. Here it is. It's right here. It's right here. Oh, that's not what I want. This is what happens when you have a computer that's, I can't wait till I get the new, I mean, it's installed and everything. But when this thing's up and running, I'm going to be like a Pantera. A Pantera on the internet. Okay, come on now. Come on now. You can do this. There you go. Good boy. Okay, so this is the commercial in question. Marina Abramovic. All right, hold on. Let's see. Let's do that old screen share. And yeah, let me share the computer sound. Oh, yeah. Okay. There it is. All right. And away we go. This is Marina Abramovic hooking for Microsoft and initiating us into the realm of virtual reality, the high priestess of virtual reality.
Is art with objects? Is it just pure transmission of energy between the viewer and the art?
Oh, so painful. Sorry.
To me, mixed reality is this answer.
This was a unique opportunity to take the most legendary artists working now and capture them in such a way that they are translatable forever.
If you're a collector, you're trying to find works that break new ground. We here at Christie's believe that this is that. And it will be the first time that a mixed reality artwork is sold at auction.
There was always a question what you buy when you buy performance. You buy the video or you buy the edition of photographs. Here, you actually can have the artist's presence in your collection.
The first thing that we had to figure out was you had to feel that you were in the room with Marina, not a document of Marina. So HoloLens 2 was created by people who quite clearly have an interest in the audience forgetting that they are using technology. So the purest expression of artistic intent can happen.
I really want viewer to be with me in the space, in here and now. The life is dealing with what is going to stay after I'm not there anymore. And I can face myself. And that's a frightening experience. Really like you're facing your own ghost. There is always this great idea of immortality. Once you die, the work will never die because the work of art can continue. In performance, the piece is only in the memory of the audience and nowhere else. Here, I am kept forever.
So that's augmented reality, meaning that that she appears in front of you, right? It's different than virtual reality. In that virtual reality, you're in a virtual space, and what are you doing? And then an augmented reality is like it's right there. Do you think Jasper could be a performance artist? I think he could be a performance artist. What do you think, Jasper? You ready? You ready to be captured for eternity? Huh? You ready to be captured for eternity? Is that it? Anyway, yeah, augmented reality, and she's going to usher us into this bifurcation of the worlds, which is what we've been talking about now for, how long? For a while, last few months, looking at the transition between the true node in Cancer and the true node in Gemini. Now we have the real world, and now we have the augmented world, the world of augmented reality. So, yeah, there you go. See, Rob, see what you did? You triggered the sample there. Notice the Gates support of her. Yeah. How to be infinite in a simulation. Not interested. Will I am Gates. They need to get over themselves. Nuck and Futz. Here I am, kept forever. It is facing yourself is like facing your ghost, and it is so scary. Oh, it's so scary. I scared myself when I saw myself. I did not know what to do. Bilocation. That's what's happening is bilocation. All right. Let me get into the chart of the moment. Let's talk some astrology. Let's talk some astrology. Some astrology. All right, let's go home. Who wants to go home? Who wants to go home? I want to go home. Jasper, you're already home, buddy. You're home wherever you are. Oh. Okay, let's look at the chart. We're going to get into what's happening the week ahead. I have the elixir for the week ahead right here in front of me. The starry elixir. Jasper. Okay. Oh, hold on a second. I have to make that adjustment, man, because I always like to see my chart as it relates to, oh, there it is. Good. It's Fredericksburg. It's not, it is not Verdun, France. It's here and now. Bada boom. Okay, there we go. Chart of the moment. Scorpio rising. Kenneth Anger. Moon just went into 0 Capricorn, which is I of the last few days been great moon, Sagittarian moon, and it's I think the Sagittarian moon on Easter. By the way, happy Easter, everybody! One of my favorite times of the year, Easter. I think it's right up there. Easter and Thanksgiving, my two favorite holidays. Easter and Thanksgiving, and of course Jasper Day. Jasper Day's third, right there. But every day is Jasper Day, so I get to celebrate that every day. All right, Moon in Capricorn. What does that mean for the next 24 hours, 48 hours, the lunar cycle? We're going to have the moon come into square with the sun by late Tuesday evening. It's going to come into, and then Tuesday into Wednesday. That can be a bit of a difficult time. We've already got some squares going on right now. We've got Pluto squaring the sun. We've got Jupiter squaring the sun. Mars isn't quite there. Is Saturn there? Kind of, yeah, Saturn's there. It's kind of a wide square, 8 degrees, but Saturn's in. So we have all these Capricornian planets. And then, of course, the moon is going to come into play and it's going to join. Sorry, Saturn is in Aquarius. My bad. It's been in Capricorn for the last 3 years. But the moon's going to come into play as well. And we're going to see the moon come into that T square, not a T square, but that hard square with that Aries sun. And I'm wondering again, how are people going to be responding come Tuesday, Wednesday, if we're still kind of in this place where, we're at status quo. But the way that Trump has been going on about for the since tonight, that maybe it won't be a status quo. Like maybe they know that they're going to have another kind of fake outbreak of a mutation of corona, or perhaps there's something else. Perhaps we're going to have, the big incoming Atlas comet, Atlas comet chaff kind of bear down a hill. You want to get down there? You want to lay down there? He wants to be in the back of the computer. All right. There's not a lot of room there, though. That's fine for you. So what's going to happen this week? Well, we're gonna see, because there's a lot of tension this week. Let's be clear. We have the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction, and one of the things that the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction has brought us is more freaking government. Jupiter expands. That's the story of Jupiter. It expands, and so the Jupiter-Pluto conjunction is really hitting very hard right now, because governments, large and small, both national and local government in general, getting bigger, getting more involved in our affairs, telling people that they can't drive their cars up to a Sunday service, or if you're a resident of the state of Michigan, you can't even buy an American flag. Not that you have to go run out and buy an American flag, but you can't buy one. You know why? It's a non-essential item. Like if you're in the state of Michigan, you are screwed. You can't get anything. The only thing you get is food and booze. You can't get seeds. You can't get plants. You can't get anything that's going to take your mind off of what's happening, or not even take your mind off of it, but prepare for something beyond what's happening. You can't do that. Your reality has been locked down, and you can't even go visit like a family member theoretically in another part of the state. Let's say you lived in Ann Arbor and you wanted to go to Saginaw. You can't do that now. And if you have like a second house, let's say you've got a second house in somewhere in northern Michigan. Let's say you got a cabin in northern Michigan. They're not going to let you go there. You got to stay in your primary residence. I mean, think about that. I mean, when have we ever seen this? I mean, even during the height of, let's say, World War II, we never saw this during the height of World War II. I mean, I wasn't there, but I know about it. There's not one period of time in this country where multiple states were saying that you cannot leave your house and you cannot buy things that are considered to be non-essential. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, cats and dogs, we're in a new territory right now. We've never seen this. And think about, we get this in a minor kind of way in Texas, but think about the shock and the outrage and the outright feeling incensed that the people in Michigan must have, and that they have no recourse, okay? None. They have no recourse. They're going to go to the state capitol, and they're going to they're going to go to the state capitol and going to protest with their cars. What they should really be doing is that they should all take their cars and fill in the blank. Just fill in the blank. That'll get their attention. One of the things that these people who are these agents of Capricorn, one of the things that they don't feel is they don't feel fear. They have no fear. They have no fear whatsoever. They're insulated. They're in their own way. They're isolated, and they're certainly supported by whatever agency has propped them up and put them in place. Apparently, Soros played a huge role in getting Whitmer and the guy from Kentucky elected. Soros money, they turned Kentucky from being a long time kind of red state into having a blue governor. And now you got Ralph Northam in Virginia, blue governor. We're seeing the balkanization of the United States of America. In a lot of ways, we're already having a civil war. You know, Wyoming's like, hey, man, we're going to run our show. We're not going to shut down. And a few states over, you got a state that's basically become the Iron Curtain in Michigan. You see what's happening? There's already being the precedent for a civil war starting to happen. It's the balkanization of the United States. And when we get into this phase of the moon here, and, you know, we've already come off the full moon, the big, beautiful Libra full moon. We've come off of that. So we're at the third quarter phase. And the third quarter phase in terms of lunar cycles has to do with things like, you know, like if this is the harvest, right? If the full moon is the harvest, the third quarter phase is what you do with the harvest. It's putting things away. You know, it's shutting the farm down, putting beds to, you know, the beds to sleep, taking the harvest and either, dehydrating it or canning it or, pulping it or whatever, right? That's what this period is. But I feel like this is not that, right? This 3/4 phase moon coming in here to square the sun in 48 hours feels a little dire to me, actually. And we're reading more and more stories that farmers are being paid not to produce things. Farmers are being subsidized, okay? Like they're being subsidized not to grow. Some farmers who have cattle, they're being told, you know, hey, don't take your meat to the processors. Don't sell your cattle. And also, apparently, some of the, you know, people who are supposedly in the front lines in the meat packing and processing plants are starting to come down with, CGV, right, or CDV. That's what they're coming down with. So what's going to happen there? They're going to shut that down. So eventually, I mean, if you know, and Jupiter's going to go retrograde fairly soon. We're going to see Jupiter go retrograde. What is this? April? Jupiter gets really close, 26 degrees, I think. That's what it gets up to. And if it begins to go retrograde, it's going to go back over Pluto. That's going to be interesting. We have a Jupiter retrograde. I think it goes back to 18 degrees. So right now it's at third decan. And that third decan is, guess what? It is the Virgo decan. It's the Virgo decan. And I've talked about this before. If you look at the 3 earth signs, we can see the cycle of production with the earth signs. So the first decan is in the earth signs is always going to be Taurus. The second decan is going to be Virgo. And then the third decan is going to be Capricorn. So, and if you follow the cycle, the second house is production. It's growing. You get things out of the ground, whether it's fruit or vegetables, whatever they are, or even livestock, whatever they are, things that are connected to the earth, right? We take them over to the 6th house, and what happens? We process through the 6th house. That's exactly, we process, we render, and then we distribute through the 6th house. And then the 10th house manages the operation. That's what happens. This is how these things are cycled out, right? So if we look at Jupiter now, Jupiter would be in the third decan because that's the degree, right? It's in the third decan. Well, what happens when it goes retrograde? If it's in the third decan, and we know that the third decan is ruled by Virgo, and we talk about distribution and rendering and packaging and all that stuff, guess what's going to happen? It's going to go retrograde, which means the largesse is going to move away because that's what Jupiter brings us. It brings us the largesse, so it's going to move away. And I can set this thing here. Let me do this. I'll come back to this. I can even tell you when you're going to start to see this on the horizon. You're going to be able to see this thing coming. You know what I did today? I did something today that I really, really liked. It gave me a great feeling. So, and you know, I try to spend as much time as I can over on the 11th house on Facebook, and sometimes I just get super, super busy, and I can't spend a ton of time there. So there's like threads and conversations that I'm just, and that's a very active page, by the way. So I went in there today, and somebody complained about a member who I really didn't have a whole lot of like history with, and they reported the conversation that this person was in, and I got to tell you, this person was completely foul-mouthed, rude, and let's just say she was woke. Okay, woke in that kind of, you know, hard liberal anti-fa-fa kind of sense, right? And she was like cursing people out. I didn't know this. I didn't see it. And I'm like, man, this is just not cool. You know, and like, you know, attacking some of my favorite people. So you know what I did? I deleted her ass. I loved it. It was like, see you later. Sayonara, goodbye. And I just like hit every single box. Like, you know, none of your friends can come in. Like, you'll never come back. You won't even see this. You want to be able to find the group, right? I basically obliterated this person. And it was actually quite rewarding, I have to say. And bloodless too, you know? It's bloodless. I didn't have to you know, bring out the firing squad. All right. Because if you've ever wanted to like take out somebody who's just a complete like contrarian, radical, raggy loudmouth, and you never had the opportunity to do that in real life, I just did it for you. Okay, here we go. Okay. Today really felt like the first day of spring. We had a nice day here, nice breeze. Everything was great. Fantastic. All right. Boy, this Jupiter really moves all the way up to 27 degrees. Like it's just getting up to, it's like it's right here at Aquarius and then pulled back. So that retrograde it stations on the 2nd of the 11th of May. Oh, we got another 11 day here, right? Let me just see, 13 stations on May 12th. But it'll begin to slow down right around then. So I think that's when we're going to start to see a real crunch with the production and the distribution. And we're also going to go into a Venus retrograde as well. And that's going to happen in June. And I think it's retrograde until August. And then, of course, then we get a Mars retrograde. It's going to be wacky, totally wacky. But it's that Jupiter retrograde in May where I feel like as it moves past Pluto, it's going to, you know, that largesse is going to move away from us. And it might be okay from like a governmental standpoint, like finally, you know, this, you know, big land grab, this big power grab that's been happening right now, that maybe, just maybe, we might kind of pump the brakes on it. And maybe, just maybe, you know, people might be able to matriculate back into society, whatever that means. It all depends on how, I guess Apple and Google now have apps on their phone that will basically track you so that you can get your social credit score Oh, guess what? You were really good today. You only went a half a mile away from your house. And we sensed your temperature via the phone, and you were at 98.6 all day today. Oh, yeah. And we did notice that when you went out to meet the pizza, I guess the pizza guys don't even show up anymore. They just drop it on your porch now. That's so antiseptic. But when we saw that you went out a half a mile away and you went to Whataburger, that you were wearing your mask. Well, how do we know? Well, because when you're at Whataburger, there are cameras there, and you know their cameras are hooked into our system, and you were wearing a mask. Plus one, bidding, 1 point for the mask, bidding, 1 point for being a half mile away from your house, bidding, 1 point for having 98.6. Congratulations, you just upgraded your social credit score. Hey, can't you see now how kids who have been cultivated on video games might actually respond to the social credit score thing? You know, and what if you go out and you do something good for your community? Or what if you turn somebody in who is a threat or a danger to the health of the community? You know, you get points for that. Oh, next, you know, you're racking up points. You're a good citizen. Congratulations. And then you level up. And then there are citizen goodies, right? You know, at this level, you know, this is what you get as a good citizen. These are your good citizen bonus goodies. You know, you want to keep, oh, wow, I got to get up to the top there. And if I, you know, who else can I rat out? Let's see. Who else can I rat out? And I wonder if there's points. Like, I wonder if you just rat out like a complete and total stranger. Like, that's worth maybe 2 points, maybe 2 points. But let's say you rat out a family member. Ooh, now we're getting up there. So then you can say, well, I ratted out my cousin. All right, not bad. You get 4 points for ratting out your cousin. Oh, let's see. I'm going to rat out my uncle. Now that's even closer, right? So now you get like maybe 5 points for the uncle. And then it starts to get really like, oh man, what if I rat out one of my grandparents? Man, I could really pick up some points for the grandparent rat. Oh, what do you get 10 points for ratting out a grandparent. What happens if you rat out a sibling in your own family? Well, it's got to be 15 points. And of course, you know, the one that's going to give you the most bang for your betrayal is your parents. You rat out one of your parents, you get 20 points. And it's like, and then you could like use that as leverage too. You say, hey, we need to have a little talk here. We need to have a little talk. You know, I really would like to take your car out. I'd like to take your car. Oh, really? Yeah. But you have a car. I know I have a car, but you know, that car is it's a Honda Fit. And I got to tell you, it's not a fit for me. You know, what I really want to drive is I want to drive your BMW. No, you can't drive my BMW. Well, let's see here. I do have this picture of you on my cell phone. You see that? Listen, I caught this, and and I've got an app on my phone that shows how close you are to people, where people are close to each other. You were within 2 feet with your best buddy, and neither of you were wearing masks. I could upload this right now to my app. And, you know, I don't want to do that, Dad. I don't want to do that. You know, all you got to do is just, let me get the keys to the Beamer. I think we're good. Can you just see that happening? Isn't it a wonderful world we're living in? It's a wonderful world. This is why I could never run a business, because if I was running a business, I'd be the guy saying, yeah, these applications are going to be fantastic. And the vaccines are going to be really tremendous. And, you know, between the vaccines and the technology that goes along with the vaccines, these are going to be major upgrades to our life, major upgrades. And it's really going to connect us and bring us into a sense of oneness. Because once you have the vaccine and once you have the tracking tattoo and somebody else has the vaccine and the tracking tattoo, you're together, right? You're bonded, you're connected. And not only that, but you're connected to a greater group, and a group that has access to a lot more things than those other people who, for whatever reason, have decided not to get the tattoo, not to get the vaccine. You don't want to be like those people, do you? No. By doing this, your status is elevated. Oh, yeah, your status is elevated. Not only that, but you're part of a brotherhood and a sisterhood. And your participation in that brings us hope and continuity for the future. See, that's how you want to sell that shit. I could never do that, though. In fact, today I was driving in my car and I was listening to this guy, Del Walmsley. I'm sorry, I'm going to bring it back to astrology. I promise. And he's got what's his thing? Lifestyles of the rich and fatuous. I don't know, luxury lifestyles or some shit like that. And it's all about having passive income through rental properties. It teaches you how to do it and all that. Anyway, he was talking about, the bug. He was talking about that. And he was getting into the whole vaccine thing. He was getting into the vaccine thing like it's a good thing. We're gonna take care of it, right? This is gonna be the thing that's gonna bring us all. He talked about this. He said, we're in a global community now. And this is the thing that's going to allow us to bridge our global community, a global economy. We need to prepare. And he's selling this shit. You know why? Because he wants to go back to business. He wants to be able to open his apartments back up and have people like go and rent his apartments and get back to business as usual. And he doesn't give a rat's ass about anything. He just wants to continue his operation. So he'll sell the shit. And this is a guy who's got, this paid for talk show because he pays for time. And it's all about timeshares, or not timeshares, rental properties. He doesn't care. This is what we're up against. We've got these foot soldiers out here, and then you've got the people that are listening to the show. This is all Taurus stuff, by the way. All Taurus. This is all like money stuff. And all these Taurus money guys are having to like flip their script and change their tune. So he's not on there talking about how you can go out and get this property because nobody's lending right now. This is a very difficult lending environment. So that's not happening. So he's got to change his story. So he's gonna pump the hopium. He's gonna hit you with the hopium, and the hopium is the vaccine. That's his script now. That's what he has to talk about. Another money guy, Dave Ramsey. I was listening to Dave Ramsey on Friday or Thursday, and I tried to get in on a show. I couldn't get it past his screener. I got to try sometime next week. Dave Ramsey, it's like this guy has been, trying to get people out of debt and everything. And, he's done good work. The thing, he's a Taurus, by the way. The thing that kind of bugs me about Dave Ramsey, if you've ever watched the show or listened to the show, people will ask him, "Hi, Dave, how are you?" And his line is always this: "Better than I deserve to be." Like, what is that about? Is that like some kind of Christian piety and Christian humility? Or does Dave Ramsey harbor some dark secret that keeps him from saying, "I'm really great today. I'm really great today, and I'm happy to be here with you. Thanks for asking." You never hear that with him. Better than I deserve to be. Like, why? What would you sacrifice babies, Dave? Is that why? Look, I get it. Maybe you should just wear a hair shirt underneath your broadcasts. Why don't you just take it back to like the 15th century, Dave? Why don't you do that? Maybe he does. Maybe he does wear a hair shirt. Anyway, he's helped a lot of people. Don't get me wrong. He's helped a lot of people. And he's helped, help people get their shit straight with money. He's a Taurus guy, right? He's helping people deal with their second house. That's what he's doing. Dave Ramsey's kind of the master of the second house. What he's not a master of is the eighth house, where the magicians of the eighth house are basically taking people's money away, right? taking people's money away. Anyway, I tried to get on the show because Dave's a religious man. And I wanted to ask him about Bill Gates and the vaccine and the chip and the mark of the beast. Unfortunately, I did not get past the call screener, but I'm going to. I am going to. I'm gonna get past that freaking call screener, and I'm gonna hit Dave Ramsey with the kamikaze shot. And they got that 7-second delay. But I'll probably figure something out. I'll fake him out. I'll do a deep fake in this thing. So these money guys at these shows are having to talk a different tune. Like even Ramsey on Thursday, he had this life coach on there, this Christian life coach, to help people deal with the stress and the anxiety. Because he's not talking to people about how they can save money, because these people are bleeding debt now. Like even Dave Ramsey can't save these people. All right. So they got to change their tune. Uranus and Taurus, you got to change your tune. You got to change your game. You got to be, with money, resources, land, and the second house is the terra firma, the place that we're on. And if you haven't noticed already, Krakatoa just started erupting. We got earthquakes happening right and left. So even the earth is going through changes. We're going through changes, and so is the earth. Right. So you got to radically reorient yourself to being here on this planet. That's it. That's what Taurus is. Taurus is the sign that really represents this world. And remember that Taurus, Uranus and Taurus plays some really interesting roles, right? Money-wise. Two very important eras for Uranus and Taurus. One is the reset of 1850, 1851, right? Uranus goes into Taurus then. Oh yeah, it does. And when else does Uranus go into Taurus? When is it in Taurus? It's when FDR signs the New Deal, because at that time we're coming out of the Depression and into, we're in the Depression, Uranus and Taurus. And here we are again, the third Uranus and Taurus cycle. And all three of those, reset. Okay. So you've got to radically reorient yourself to your assets and resources in life on this planet. And if you don't do it, if you don't radically reorient yourself, you're going to be in a world of hurt, because you can't hang on to the pre-311 world. It's gone. And we all got plenty of time now, apparently. So if you have time, you haven't had like a major episode in your life in the last 10 years where you've had to really grieve and let go, if you've been one of the fortunate ones in some ways, who for the last 10 years you've kind of gotten through unscathed with that, well, I certainly would suggest that you think about what's happened. You think about what's taken place. You think about the world that existed pre-311 and your life and everything associated with it, and maybe even your hopes and dreams moving forward based on the life that you were living. And you take a few moments to really take that in so that you can deal with the severity of that, and then get it out of your system. Okay. Just get it out of your system, because the other side of Taurus is what? Scorpio. And that's what people are not really kind of factoring into this thing. Because if we've got Uranus and Taurus, we're dealing with the other sign. And the other sign is Scorpio. And that's death. It's other people's money. It's credit. It's liquidity. It is death. So it's avail yourselves of the power of death. If you haven't had to do that in the last decade, you may want to check in with that. And that way you can clear it out, so whatever's coming you can deal with. All right, let's get back to the chart of the moment. All right. By the way, thank you everybody who has asked me about my mother. She was hospitalized yesterday. Just basically a bad case of dehydration. But this is a senior whose routines have been, what's this? Off Planet Media. Sonia. Is Randy running his show on Sunday night now? Is Randy competing with me now on Sunday nights? I think he is. Or maybe they just put that up. Who knows? No, they don't do it live, do they? No. But he premiered it now. That's fine. I mean, you can always go to Randy. I love Randy. And you know I love Emily. I can't wait till I'm going to mash it up this week. We got some really cool things we're going to be talking about. All right, let's get down to some more of these planets here. Right, we got Mars at 9 Aqua. Right, Mars at 9 Aqua, still first decan, but getting ready to switch. When it switches, it's going into that Gemini decan, and I think it's going to go nuts. I think we're going to watch Mars go wacko here. We got a square to Uranus. Look at that. It's kind of separating, but it's still in that square right now. But I think Mars is going to start to do a number this week. We're already starting to see people get a little antsy. You know, we basically had a church parking lot revolt down in Kentucky with the people in their cars. Did you see the video of the guy who was on the bus and getting thrown off the bus? You know, that's really, to me, that's the new Rosa Parks video. Okay. So there's this brother on the bus. You don't see him, but you see all these cops clustered around him, right? Or clustered around the bus. And there are about 2 guys in the bus, and they are physically assaulting. They are physically assaulting him because he's not wearing a mask. And apparently in Philadelphia, oh, you've got to wear a mask. And this guy was a pretty big guy. And then he was doing everything in his power to not get tossed off that bus. And they finally get him off the bus. Finally. And then there's about 7 of them. And they ripped his cell phone out. His cell phone's on the ground. Somebody else was videotaping it. And the guy was furious. He says, I want all your motherfucking badges. Names and badges. So this thing went viral. Okay. And guess what happened? The city of Philadelphia decided to rescind their mask order. All right. That's a really interesting moment. Really, really interesting moment. That's the new Rosa Parks moment. It's a different kind of bus moment, though, right? With Rosa Parks, you know, she's on the bus and she won't get off the bus. She's in the front. She won't move out of the front. Totally scripted, by the way. Rosa Parks is an Aries as well. And this guy, not scripted at all. It's like he didn't care if he sat in the back of the goddamn bus. He just wanted to be on the bus. That's the new Rosa Parks moment. That was one man who stood up and stood against these order followers. I'm sorry, it's what they are. And, you know, they could have gotten really ugly. They could have tased his ass. They could have done a bunch of stuff, right? It could have gotten very ugly. And it was ugly. It could have gotten uglier. I think we're going to see more of that with Mars going into Gemini, into the Gemini decan. Oh, look, we got a triamine Gemini right there. How about that? And it's going to be kind of in a pretty close orb. You know, Venus is a little bit faster than Mars, so Venus is going to catch up with Mars. So what do we got? Like 3 days from now, you're going to have that really tight trine between Venus and Mars. That's going to be interesting. It's going to be creative. You know, the terrible thing about all this that we're going through, it has been an absolute, in some ways, not in all ways, by the way, but an absolute nail in the coffin of creativity. Because it's kind of like they've just turned everything into East Germany circa, 1949 or 1950. That's what it feels like. Or East Germany circa 1960. So you let the oppression settle down a bit like a massive fog bank. And we all know that there was an amazing art renaissance in East Germany once the wall went up. Remember all that great art and all that great music that came out of East Germany during that time? Yeah, you don't, do you? Because it didn't. Nothing came out of that time. Zero, zilch, nada. But this week could be interesting. Who knows? Maybe people will come up with creative masks. I'm still waiting for. I'm waiting for the Fauci mask because I want to do Fauci. I want to do Anthony Fauci. I want to do a 15 minutes of flame. I want to talk about mitigation. Mitigation. Okay, what else we have here? All right. There's Mercury finally got out of freaking Pisces. Now it's in Aries, and it's 3 degrees away from Chiron. We're going to talk about Chiron in a minute. So Mercury Chiron conjunction. Maybe this is when people are going to wake up. Maybe they're going to wake up and go, what just happened? Where did America go? Maybe this is going to be the wake up moment. And maybe this is when people are going to start to take some risks. But now they're getting the information from AI. Right? The AI is, creating this program. It's like, this is the big AI dump. The AI spits out whatever's going to happen next. And everybody around the world all parrots it simultaneously. At least people in, theoretical positions of power. All right. So we got Mercury, Chiron conjunction coming up. That's being kind of pig-headed, but, a little risky, taking a risk. We do have the moon coming in right now, squaring Mercury, squaring Chiron. That's going to be roughly over the next 14 to 16 hours. Eventually, the moon will speed up a little bit and kind of move past that. So let's just go moon square Mercury Chiron tomorrow. Well, just guess what? If you're going to work tomorrow, that might be a heavy energy. You might have to take that energy into work on Monday. But guess what? You're not going to work. Maybe you're staying home or working. By the way, they've noticed that there's an increase in day drinking while people are at home working from their homes. Imagine that. Oh, I can't wait for the breathalyzer app to be on your phone so that they can basically tell you to blow into your phone so that they can see what your breath is. And here comes the drone overhead. Citizen, please take your cell phone out and open the breathalyzer app. Citizen. Then it'd be like, citizen, if you do not open your phone and open the breathalyzer app, I will come down to face level and I will force the physical breathalyzer extension into your throat, citizen. You think it's funny? You think it's crazy? Yeah, right. Moon trine Uranus. We like that. I think I'm picking up on that little moon Uranus trine stuff. That's like that's a little crazy. That's good crazy though. That's good crazy. Might be a little bit difficult to sleep tonight. A little bit, I think. Could be with the Mars Uranus square. Could be very difficult to sleep tonight. Maybe you should think about doing some night owl work. Mercury, we've got a Mercury sextile to Venus, which I like right now. But like the week ahead, we're going to have the moon going through the transpersonal signs and going full on balsamic, the balsamic moon. And when is that happening? Give me back here. Hold on. So it's going to be moon in Pisces, but that is the most balsamic of the balsamic moons, isn't it? The moon in Pisces before it goes new in Aries. Let's just see what we got here. Okay. All right. We got that balsamic moon. Okay, so it's going to be on the 18th. So what do we got? 6 days from now. 6 days from now. And then it's going to be quite interesting because the new moon is going to be on the 23rd in Taurus. 23rd in Taurus, new moon. So let's see. So we got the balsamic moon happening on Saturday. Okay. Saturday and Sunday. That's a drinking moon, by the way. That is definitely a drinking moon. If you're into that sort of thing. I'm not. Used to be. Oops, where'd we go? there. So this is where the moon is going to be on Saturday, right? Just getting ready to kind of come into play here. The sun at that time, when we get the new moon, we have sun. This is going to be on what, Saturday, Sunday? Is it Monday? Let's just check. Let's get a little granular here. Get all granular. I heard, who was it? Amazing Polly used that. Let's get granular. All right. So that's going to be, where are we? Back here. Give me one sec. Right there. Okay. So that's going to be right here. Right here. New moon right there. Okay. So that's going to be an interesting day. April 22nd and 23rd, primarily the 23rd and the 24th. So that's a Thursday and a Friday. Why are those days going to be interesting and significant? Because we're going to have the sun and the new moon and Uranus in a triple conjunction on that day. Oh, that could definitely be an earthquake day. Could be a very big earthquake day. I do like the sun in Taurus. I like new moon in Taurus. It's great. It's fertile. You know, it's an interesting cycle, but there's something about Uranus there that disrupts everything. You know, it's like a cyclical disruptor. May not necessarily be bad. I would say that to me, that would kind of qualify as earthquake energy, especially when you have Saturn squaring right there in Aquarius. And so we can experience earthquakes on a number of different levels. They could be like seismic on a geographic level, right? They can also be seismic on a money level as well. So circle these days right here, the 23rd and the 24th, and I would say primarily Thursday the 23rd, because the moon in its it will be new at that point. In fact, it will be new on the 23rd. Certainly would be new on the 24th. But it'll move into that new phase late on the 23rd, and that's when on the 23rd it'll also conjunct Uranus. That'll be a very, very interesting time. And then you got the square right there with Saturn. See that? See how that works? Oh, and look right there. There's that 0 degrees right there. That 0 degrees of Cancer. We know the Sabian symbol for that. On a ship at sea, a group of sailors lowers one flag and raises another. That's it. This is that zone. It's right there, right there, right there. Sea change. There's a sea change happening. Maybe that's when we get to actually go back. And I've been imploring people to not go back. It's like, why? That last version was getting pretty stinky. 1.0 was getting pretty foul, pretty rancid. Starting to smell like old egg, sulfur. The sulfuric stench of 1.0 was getting to it was fermenting in a bad way. Okay, so we got Mercury Chiron. We talked a little bit about that. And this is a little crazy. Mercury Chiron conjunctions are crazy. A little crazy. Like, blood rush to the head. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is antsy energy right here. This is very antsy energy. And definitely risky, for sure. This is risky energy. So what are you talking about? Like 3 days from now, right? Mercury changes a degree per day. So 3 days from now. So what are we talking about? Wednesday? Midweek? If they're not rolling stuff out by Wednesday with this Mercury Chiron conjunction, some people are going to lose their shit. We're already seeing it, right? We're already seeing it. And I actually think that, when we get into Chiron and Aries, that's like the police. And people that bear arms. That's an interesting time. I saw another video where I think it was about 4, maybe 5 DC cops went into part of DC where it was very clear that this group of mostly young men and a few young women were not following the social distancing rules, and they weren't wearing masks. They were like hanging out, and these cops come in and they were trying to get them to disperse, and they came in way uh, underarmed. Let's just put it that way. And by the way, none of the cops are wearing any masks. They're not wearing any masks. So apparently they don't give a shit about the police, because every time I've seen the police, either, deal with somebody or have to deal with somebody in a crowd situation, with the exception of maybe a couple of them in that Philadelphia video, none of them are wearing masks. They're not wearing any masks. So I guess if you have a badge and you wear a blue or black uniform, you're immune to corona. You may want to try that out. Like, you can pick up badges on Amazon or eBay. You may want to try that out just to see what happens. Get on a pair of dark blue pants and a dark blue shirt and stick a badge on there. Doesn't matter what kind of badge it is, but you might actually be immune to corona, because apparently these other people who have the same thing, they're immune to it. They're not wearing any masks. You may want to try that. Why don't people just tell it to Fauci? Maybe even Fauci could wear a blue shirt and dark blue pants, and he can really look like a cop. Anyway. All right. That's the chart of the week, chart of the moment. Thank you for tuning in with that. We're going to get in some charts here, and let's see where we are with everybody. Where are you at? Where are you at? Let's see. Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. Ba-ba-ba-ba-bum. I'm trying to get you guys back. You're all frozen now. Web page is slowing your browser down. Let's wait. Let's see. I can't wait. Okay, we got oh my God, the police weren't wearing masks and they beat up the guy for not wearing them. Yeah, well, some of them weren't, some of them weren't. That was a mixed bag. But there's a lot of these people, a lot of these cops who are not wearing masks. They're not wearing masks. Let's see, what do we got going? Jeff P. Hey, Jeff, what's going on? My chiropractor hinted at the temp check. Been sending him Andrew Kaufman and John Rappaport vid since. Have appointment in morning. Going to be interesting. So, Jeff, I have a suggestion for you, for your chiropractor. I think you should bring a rectal thermometer tomorrow to the chiropractor, and then bring a jar of Vaseline and offer to take your chiropractor's temperature, and just ask him to bend over so you can stick the thermometer up his ass. Try that. I think that would be a very, that'd be a really good thing to do. Really, really good thing to do. Just show him you're friendly, though. Okay. You're doing him a favor by taking his rectal temperature. I think that would be, why don't we all do that? Why don't we all walk around with a thermometer and some Vaseline? And just, friend, would you mind if I took your temperature for you? I'm looking after you. I've got your best interests at heart. All you need to do is bend over so I can insert this into your rectum, and I can get a really good read on your temperature. It's better than these other ones that scan your forehead. Trust me. Yeah, I would say try that if the videos stop working. Okay. Yeah, it's most accurate. This right, exactly. Absolutely. So when I was a kid, I got to tell you this story. When I was a kid, all right, who remembers when you first started to like shit in public, right? Like going to like the restroom at like nursery school or kindergarten. Like, who remembers that? Who remembers those moments? And how did you feel with those moments? like, were you okay with it? Or did it feel like Alien? You know, you're in this like strange place, and you know, so okay. So I'm sorry. So when I was in kindergarten, it was not at an elementary school. It was at this it was like a nursery school kindergarten place, and it's called Happy Hall. I loved it, Happy Hall. It was right down the street from my house, and my father would walk me down to Happy Hall. And so one day, early on in my Happy Hall experience, I go to the bathroom. Okay. I go to the bathroom, and I'm not sure if I've fully taken care of business. So I pull this kid aside. I said, hey, I said, can you check something for me? He said, yeah. So I bent over and I spread my butt cheeks for this kid. Okay. And I asked him, is it clean? Is it clean? And he looks and he goes, yeah, it's clean. Oh, thanks. I mean, it was like you couldn't get away. You could only get away with that when you're a kid. It'd be 1965. You know, is it clean? Could you imagine? Could you imagine if you did that today in a restroom as an adult? Oh, the joy and innocence of youth. But I would say be prepared. You know, have yourself a rectal thermometer and a jar of Vaseline just to help people out. Just say you're here to help. I'm here to help. And if you feel uncomfortable out here in the canned goods aisle, we can go over to the restroom, and I can insert this, and we can make sure that you got the right temperature. I would try that, Jeff. All right. Here we are. Let's do some charts. So one of the things that was really interesting is I got this. I always feel like I want to do Fauci now. I got this email from Laura, and before I do that, I got to show you guys this picture. I got some crazy pictures. It'll pop up. Hold on. Let me see how to do this. Come on. Come on. All right. You guys want to see a rogues gallery? You want to see a rogues gallery? Here, I'll show you a rogues gallery. Check this out. Right there. Bill Moyers, Judy Woodruff, journalists, Mr. Georgia Guidestones right in front of him, little Tony, Bill Gates Sr., Tom Brokaw, George Soros. Apparently, this head is David Rockefeller, Barbara Walters, Richard Parsons, David McCullough, Brooke Astor of the Astor family, Lenore Annenberg from the Annenberg Project and the Annenberg Challenge, which helped birth Bill Gates and Common Core, and Irene Diamond. These people have been hanging out together for a very long time. Very long time. All right. So I got this email from one of my clients, Laura S. And she made a really good observation. And the observation was that there was a patent which we know about the coronavirus. I brought the patent up a while ago, like when this thing first really started to hit, we looked at that patent. But there were two things about the patent that I didn't go deep enough on, and Laura brought this to my attention, and it has to do with the fact that the company that patented the coronavirus was a company called Chiron. And Chiron is a biotech company in Emeryville, California, and I know exactly where it is. I used to drive past it when I'd go through Emeryville. So Chiron, interesting, right? Patented the coronavirus, and I could even show you the patent. It's quite extensive. Now, they began the process of filing for that patent in 2003. So I have the original patent where they started the process. This day, the 16th of November, and I just put 6:30 a.m. because I'm trying to do a sunrise chart, and it actually puts Saturn at the top of the chart, right? Regulus being the royal star of the crown, corona of the crown. So this was interesting. Now, they began to file that patent 3 years earlier in 2003, which means that they were actually working on this version of the coronavirus probably around the late 90s, say 98, 99. That's when they had this thing mapped out. I'd say probably a good 5 years, although I don't know exactly. I'm taking an estimate there. So they start the process in 2003. I actually have that chart as well. But then they finish it off 16th of November. So let's look at the finalization of the patent for the coronavirus, which was filed by Chiron Biotechnology in Emeryville, California. Let me cancel that. So what do we have here? Well, we have the true node in Cancer. Well, there's Neptune right there creeping up on the true node. We have Uranus in Cancer, which we know is there. Neptune in Aquarius. And oh, looky what we have here. Chiron in Aquarius. So we had Chiron in Aquarius, and guess where Saturn is? There's Saturn right there. Right there. So in the seed of the patent for the coronavirus, and we know, and whatever this thing is here as the patent, we have the seed for what I would call, guess what? The new age, right? Because the coronavirus has ushered in, it's not quite the dawn of a new day. It's more the dusk of a new day, to be honest with you. But that's what it's ushered in, because guess what? We're all experiencing something together simultaneously. We're all having a group experience, which is very new agey, but it's defined by Saturn, which is not very fun now, is it? So we have Saturn right here at, was it 2 degrees now? What do you got, Jasper? We got Saturn at 1. So 1 degree, but it's still 4 degrees. It's within orb of Chiron. This is the day that this thing, Corona, the patent was approved. All right. So, so there's this whole other thing. There's this whole other side to this. So I began to look at the word Corona, and I was wondering, is there any celestial connection to Corona? Of course there is. Number one, we have Regulus, which is the crown of the chart, the royal star, or it is the crown of astrology when it comes to fixed stars. But there are 2 corona constellations. There's Corona Borealis and Corona Australis. And Corona Australis is the one that is really interesting. It's a very interesting constellation, and it has 1 star in Corona Australis. Now we're dealing with tropical, right? We're dealing with tropical zodiacal interpretation, because when you're in sidereal, you'll see that the crown, and I'll show you that the crown, it's like a wreath. Okay, it is like a wreath. This is what Corona Australis looks like, and it's right at sort of the bottom quarters of the centaur in Sagittarius. However, that said, that's the sidereal interpretation. The tropical interpretation is Capricorn, right? It's Capricorn, and this is Aflecca, 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 which is the only fixed star within the Corona Australis constellation. Okay. So it's at 14 degrees. 14 degrees. Now we can see at that time, we have Pallas and also the part of fortune. Pallas is the one you want to be able to kind of wrap your head around. But where have we been, over the course of, let's say, if we go back, let's go back all the way to the beginning of the year. And I'll even like locate this with the ephemeris. Give me 1 second here. Let's go all the way back to the beginning of the year. And we have Jupiter at 6 and then Saturn at 21. What we're looking for is really Jupiter around 14. So Jupiter 14, that's February 3rd, right there. So Jupiter was here and was right on this fixed star at Flecka in Corona Australis. So February 3rd, let me do this. Give me 1 second. Oh, that's the patent. I got to show you a patent. Let me do this. All right. Here we go. Corona timeline. Jasper, you are the king of astrological cats. The king of astrological cats. You can always count on the New York Times. Oh, hold on. They don't always allow me to read their articles. They paywall me, so that might be the case now. I may have to redo this. Let's see what we got here. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba. Here we go. Here's your astrological aha moment. Okay. It's right here. I'll stop the share there. So what are we looking at? We're looking at February 2nd, February 3rd. And this is when Jupiter was conjunct fixed star at Flecka. Oh, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Fixed star at Flecka in the Corona Australis constellation. Here we go. Right there. So February 2nd, this is the first coronavirus death that was reported outside of China, whatever that is, right? Of course, it's 44. A 44-year-old man in the Philippines died after being infected, officials said. The first death reported outside of China. By this point, more than 360 people had died. Is it a coincidence? Is it a coincidence that on that day, that when that happened, that Jupiter, which expanded the operation or expanded the pandemic, in Jupiter, right, whatever sign it's in, it also retains some Sagittarian qualities. So we're talking about travel, foreign countries. So it's the first death outside of China. Jupiter's right there in a Flecka on the 13th, 14th of, 3rd, 2nd, 3rd of February. It's right there. So it's kind of interesting that there is a fairly significant constellation, right? In Placidus, in tropical, it is Capricorn. And what have we been dealing with? We've been dealing with Capricorn. Now, what's interesting here is that the day that they have this thing put together, right here, 16th of November, Pluto is a 25 Sagittarius, conjunct the galactic center. So for me, what that represents is that whatever became of this model of the virus, whether they were able to use this and have Charles Lieber, create this bastardized union between the virus or the theoretical virus and nanotechnology. But this is the template right here. This is when and we're talking to, and I'll show you, I'll show you in a minute the patents. It's very, very specific. So it's all happening here at that time, but we're also dealing with a massive stellium of Scorpio, massive stellium, Mercury, Mars, Sun, Jupiter, Venus, all in Scorpio. Holy smokes. Holy freaking smokes. That's very, very powerful. And guess what Scorpio is? Scorpio is a harbinger of death. It's a harbinger of death. That's what Scorpio is. It's transformational. So the patent here, and by the way, a lot of Scorpio is going to make people a lot of money. Scorpio is a sign that's connected to other people's money, right? Squaring Saturn and squaring Neptune. Big T square here, fixed sign. And we've got Saturn at 24, Leo, right? And I just put it up there connected to Regulus, but that's third decan Leo. So that's going to put it where? In Aries. And when it's in Aries, Saturn is what? It's in its detriment in Aries. So this decan theoretically would be detrimental on some level. So we have hard energy here. This is a hard T square. And when we get into Neptune, right? Neptune theoretically would be hope. Saturn is reality, right? Hope and reality, hope and reality. And what's all this, intense Scorpio energy here doing? Squaring both. It's squaring hard reality and, tweaking and even perhaps sealing off the exits from hope. Right there. Boom. Boom. And there's a lot of Libra stuff going on, but there's not a lot happening here. Like, look at the moon, massive singleton. There's nothing happening with that moon. Zero, zilch, nada. It's sort of like the emotions where the emotional state is just cordoned off and sort of hermetically sealed. But to me, it's the intensely powerful, intensely transformational energy around Scorpio with this massive stellium that I think is the signature of this patent. And what's happened? Our freaking world has ended, right? This thing has been a world ender. Now, it's theoretically not over. Theoretically, I'm here, Jasper's here, you're there, so we're still here. But the thing that we were a part of, that's over. This is like, this is again, very powerful stellium in Scorpio. And squaring off hard against reality. Saturn theoretically is reality, right? When we talk Saturn talk, we're talking reality talk. Get your shit together, get disciplined, put your world in order. It's all very Saturnian kinds of talk and dialogue. Neptune is about spiritual hope and possibility and potential. And here come these Scorpio planets, and it's just like a double punch to both. Transforming. They're going to transform both of them. Right. And then we have this and then again, the galactic center, like this is kind of an interesting moment, like, because Pluto would have been here if they'd done this 3 months before or 5 months after. Pluto would be in the same position. That wouldn't have changed. Galactic center wouldn't have changed either. But Saturn here would not have been in that same trine, because now what we have is we have Saturn, which is, again, in the sign of Leo or the crown, in this trine with Pluto, and literally feeding off of and energizing this Saturnian. And even if I put this at like 8 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock in the morning, when maybe that's when the patent would have been signed, Saturn still would have been ascending and would have been the highest planet. It'd probably be right about there in the 7th house, right? Here, it's just at the top of the chart. So Saturn is using these Plutonian kinds of powers in order to fuel, in some ways, a new structure. And in here, with all the Scorpionic energy, there's a breakdown. This is what this is doing. There's a breakdown here. So again, I'm just looking at this as the potential template for what we are seeing and experiencing as some agency of this so-called coronavirus. And I'll take you to the patent. You can check it out. I mean, it's really intense. I mean, they get into some stuff here. I'll show you. So here we go. U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, patent text, full text image database. So you can see all the people, right? So this is the patent application. And some guy named Rino Rapulli from Italy. This is the guy, Rhino. This is the guy that's driving the whole thing. So it is based on SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, an outbreak of a virulent respiratory virus, now known as severe acute respiratory syndrome, SARS, was identified in Hong Kong, China, and a growing number of countries around the world in 2003. The invention relates to, where'd it go? Did I lose it? Hold on. All right, come on. Okay. The invention relates to nucleic acids and proteins from the SARS coronavirus. These nucleic acids and proteins can be used in the preparation and manufacture of vaccine formulations, diagnostic reagents, kits, etc. The invention also provides a method for treating SARS by administering small molecule antiviral compounds, as well as methods of identifying potent small molecules for the treatment of SARS. So they created this patent so that they could ultimately deal with SARS. So there we go. Chiron Corporation, Chiron in Aquarius, right? The wound that will bring on the new age. So this was filed April 9th, 2004. That's what you can see the application number. So right there, application number, filing date. These actually started right here on April 10th, 2003. And we can see all the different iterations. Boom, 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 boom. And it finally gets closed in 2009, right? That's when it finally, or 2000, what was it, 2006? That's when it finally gets closed. But it goes through all these different iterations. And I want you to look at this just for a moment. And I'll show you how intensive a patent this is. Number one, an isolated polypeptide of the SARS virus. Two, the polypeptide of claim. One, wherein the polypeptide is a spike. And this just goes on and 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 on. I mean, look at this shit. You know, figure 72, correlation between spike antigen binding and neutralizing antibodies. Figure 73, Western blot of CHO, cell lines expressing spike protein. Western blot analysis, SARS spike protein. I mean, this goes on and on and on. It's all part of the patent. Look at this. The sequence positions brackets denominate the core region. And just think of this. There is somebody in this world that actually understands this shit. I mean, come on. I mean, that's kind of mind-blowing, right? In its own way. The invention includes an attenuated SARS virus, where an attenuated SARS virus contains, in addition, deletion or substitution of polynucleotides encoding for one of the hydrophobic domains. It goes on and 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 on. It's like, you got to be kidding me. So they got a patent on this thing, and then they sold it for big bucks. Big bucks. Big bucks. Let me show you here. I'll get into some of the mythology around Corona. It's kind of interesting. Corona Australis. It's kind of interesting stuff. You guys might like it. So this is the Wikipedia page. And Rosie's back. Corona Australis. Constellation of Southern Celestial Hemisphere. It means the Southern Crown. And then you've got the Corona Borealis as well. But I'm looking at this one specifically. The ancient Greeks saw Corona Australis as a wreath rather than a crown, and associated with Sagittarius or Centaurus. Other cultures have likened the pattern to a turtle, ostrich nest, a tent. Maybe it's like the tents that they have in New York City, or even a hut belonging to a rock hyrax. Although fainter than its northern counterpart, that's the Australis borealis. And maybe we'll look at that next week. Let's just look at this one because I thought this one was interesting. The oval horseshoe-shaped pattern of its brighter stars renders it distinctive. Alpha and Beta Coronae Australis are the two brightest stars. So we're talking twins. They're not quite binary, but they're spoken about alpha and beta, right? Alpha and beta. So we're talking about Gemini symbolism here. With Ursa Majoris variable in the southern sky, lying alongside the Milky Way. Corona Australis contains one of the closest star-forming regions in the solar system, a dusty, dark nebula known as the Corona Australis molecular cloud. The molecular cloud. Isn't that interesting? That this constellation has a molecular cloud. Within it are stars at the earliest stages of their lifespan. The variable stars R and TY, Coronae Australis, light up parts of the nebula, which varies in brightness accordingly. The name of the constellation was entered as Corona Australis when the International Astronomical Union established the 88 modern constellations in 1922. In 1932, the name was instead recorded as Corona Austrina when the IAU's Commission on Notation approved the list of four-letter abbreviations for the constellations. The four-letter abbreviations were repealed in 1955. The IAU presently uses Corona Australis exclusively. So it is bordered by Sagittarius to the north and then Scorpio to the west. Now that's in sidereal. In tropical, it is Capricorn, which I think is actually kind of important in a lot of ways because, we got Mr. Fauci, who actually happens to be a Capricorn. So let's continue to go on here. Okay. It says Corona Australis culminates at midnight at around June 30th and ranks 80th in the area, only visible at latitudes south of 53 degrees north. Cannot be seen from the British Isles, as it lies too far south, but it can be seen from southern Europe and readily from the southern United States. So for those of you in the south, right around the 30th of June, you'll actually be able to kind of look up and see Corona Australis, right? While not a bright constellation, Corona Australis is nonetheless distinctive due to its identifiable pattern, which is described as a horseshoe or oval-shaped. Though it has no stars brighter than fourth magnitude, it still has 21 stars visible to the unaided eye. Okay, so here's a list of all the stars. And here we have Alpheca Meridiana, or Alpha CRA. That's the one star that I threw into that chart. It's the only star that is part of the Arabic fixed star system. So this is kind of interesting. In the north of the constellation is the Corona Australis molecular cloud, a dark molecular cloud with many embedded reflection nebulae. Interesting. Some of the mythology, there are meteor showers that come out of here. The Corona Australids, that takes place between the 14th and 18th of March and peaking around the 16th. Is that interesting? All right, so here's the history of it. This is fascinating. Corona Australis may have been recorded by ancient Mesopotamians in the Mulapan as a constellation called Magur. Sounds a little like Maga, Magur the bark. However, this constellation adjacent to Suhermash, the goatfish, modern Capricornus, may instead have been modern Epsilon Sagittarii as part of the southern sky. Magur was one of the 15 stars of Ea. Okay, who is Ea? Well, Ea is part of the Enlil Enki, right? I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Ea is actually Enlil, right? And what do we get here from Ea? We have Earth. or the place of Ea, the Arth of Ea. Let's look at Ea. Enki. Oh, it's Enki. My bad. I thought it was Enlil. Enki. See, I needed to do this. Enki is Ea, the Sumerian god. There he is, boys and girls. There he is, the bearded man with the pointy hat. This is the creator god, so to speak. So my bad. Enki is Ea. I thought it was Enlil. It's good to be specific here. So when we look at Ea, what are we talking about? We're talking about Earth, right? Earth. Ea is in Earth, the Arth or the hearth or the place of Ea or the home of Enki, right? When we say Earth, we're actually, sort of paying homage to Ea/Enki. The 3rd century BC, the Greek didactic poet Aratus wrote of, but did not name the constellation, instead calling it the two crowns, whatever that is, I don't read Greek. Stephano, the Greek astronomer Ptolemy, described the constellation in the 2nd 8th century AD with the inclusion of Alpha Telescopi, since transferred to Telescopium. That's like just below Sagittarii, Telescopium. Describing 13 stars of the constellation, he named Stephanos Notios, a southern wreath, while other authors associated with either Sagittarius having fallen off his head or Centaurus, with the former was called Corona Sagittarii. Similarly, the Romans called Corona Australis the golden crown of Sagittarius. But anytime you see Ea or Enki, he is like the goatfish god. He is the embodiment of Capricorn. So Capricorn does play a role in this. It was known as Parvum Coleum, canopy, little sky, right? In the 8th century, the 18th century French astronomer Jérôme Lalande give it the names Saturn Australis, southern garland, or Piculus capitis. Well, the German poet and author Philippus Cassius called it corolla, or little crown, or Spira Australis, the southern coil, and linked it with the crown of eternal life from the New Testament. The 17th century celestial cartographer Julius Schiller linked it to the diadem of Solomon. Sometimes Corona Australis was not the wreath of Sagittarius, but the arrows held in his hand. Interesting. Corona Australis has been associated with the myth of Bacchus and Stimula. Jupiter had impregnated Stimula, causing Juno to become jealous. Juno convinced Stimula to ask Jupiter to appear in his full splendor, which the mortal woman could not handle, causing her to burn. After Bacchus, Stimulus' unborn child, became an adult and the god of wine, he honored his deceased mother by placing a wreath in the sky. In Chinese astronomy, the stars of Corona Australis are located within the black tortoise of the north. The constellation itself was known as Tianpia, or the heavenly turtle. Isn't that interesting? And during the Western Zhou period, marked the beginning of winter. However, precession over time has meant that the heavenly river, the Milky Way, became more accurate marker to the ancient Chinese, and hence supplanted the turtle in the role. So the Milky Way became their marker, and the poor turtle was out of a job. Poor turtle got outsourced. Okay, let's see. What else do we have here? This is kind of interesting. The indigenous Burong people of northwestern Victoria saw it as one, a boomerang thrown by Tatya Arguli, or Altair, the star Altair, right? Altair being connected to the eagle. The Aranda people of Central Australia saw Corona Australis as a Kulaman carrying a baby. I guess what's a Kulaman? Is that a kangaroo? Which is accidentally dropped to Earth by a group of sky women dancing in the Milky Way. Well, these stories are pretty creative, aren't they? Pretty imaginative. The impact of the Kulaman created Ghost's Bluff crater, 175 kilometers west of Alice Springs. The Torres Strait Islanders saw Corona Australis as part of a larger constellation encompassing part of Sagittarius and the tip of Scorpius tail, the Pleiades, and Orion were also associated. How about that? The constellation was Taggai's canoe, crewed by the Pleiades, called Useam, and Orion called the Sedge. The myth of the Taggai says that he was in charge of this canoe, but his crewmen consumed all the supplies on board. See, that's what happens when you don't prep enough. And without asking permission, enraged, Taggai bound the Useam with a rope and tied him to the side of the boat and threw him overboard. Scorpius's tail represents a sucker fish, while Eta Sagittarii and Theta Corona Australis mark the bottom of the canoe. On the island of Futuna, the figure of Corona Australis was called Tanuma, and the Tuamotus, it was called, and in the Tuamotus, it was called Nakawi Ki Tonga. So there you go. This is where it is. You can see it in sidereal, right? This is the Corona Australis. And there it is right there, looking a bit, if I can be kind of an adult here, looking a bit vaginal. If I'm not, what does this say about me? I'm looking at a Rorschach here, and the corona is looking slightly vaginal. I'm kind of getting a little aroused by this pictograph, I have to say. And you can see the crown, right? You can see the crown right there. Let's see, what do we have here? I actually have a picture of it. Is this it? Let me see what we got here. Yeah, there it is. Astropixels.com. So here's Corona Australis right here. And here's the one lonely star that got a name, Alpheca Meridiana, right there. And again, based on the tropical zodiac, that's in the sign of Capricorn, right there. So I think the interpretation from a tropical perspective is relevant, right? It is definitely relevant because we saw what happened. Jupiter conjuncts Alpheca, and then what happens? They have the first theoretical non-Chinese corona death takes place. All right. So what I wanted to do now is I wanted to see where Gates's chart was with that patent. And it's kind of interesting. So here's Gates. He's in the middle right here. And of course, he's got that disruptive Uranus in the first house. And what I found interesting were the conjunctions on almost every single point of Gates's chart. So here we have Saturn. This is when this patent goes through, right? That day. We have a Saturn conjunction with Gates's Jupiter-Pluto. Money, resources, Saturn, organization, discipline, industry, and form. I tell you right now that this patent, if it's not directly connected to Bill Gates, it is indirectly connected to him. And what are we talking about here? Leo is the crown, right? It is the crown. And of course, Gates has Jupiter and Pluto conjunct Regulus. I mean, that's like a pretty significant conjunction. Whether you like the guy or not, and I know that the popular opinion, probably within this circle, is way more not. But from an astrological standpoint, that is a heavy-duty, very powerful aspect. And I guarantee you, he's had people talk about that and interpret that, and in some ways may even give him some legitimacy, some astrological legitimacy. So here's Saturn from the patent. This is a relationship, and the relationship is with the formalization and the structure and the social, perhaps even the social application of this patent. Because apparently they're going to have to come up with another vaccine for whatever this version of that thing is, from 2019. South Node conjunct Vesta here. But here what I'm looking at is the moon, right? Remember how that moon was inert, kind of singletoned out? No, not anymore. It's right on Gates's Mars. This is, again, this is kind of fuel. This is fuel. And with Libra, there's this idea that, you want to balance things out. I was watching part of the End Game, Avengers, and that guy Thanos. And that's what Thanos wants to do. Thanos wants to level everything out. That's his job. He goes around to all these different worlds and he ends these worlds so that there can be balance in the universe. There we go. There's the moon conjunct Mars. He's got that Mars-Mercury conjunction, which we've seen before. Conjunction, Mercury here at, what is that? His sun is at 3-5 Scorpio. So Mercury's at 9, Mercury-Sun conjunction. Now that stellium kicks into a Saturn-Venus right here. So we have Saturn conjunct Jupiter-Pluto. We have Pluto, Venus, Sun, Mars conjunct to Saturn, Venus. So we're talking relationship here, and very tight relationships. Very, very tight. So these are the conjunctions that are very important. And so if I'm looking at this, I would say that this pattern, and again, I haven't done any further diving on this thing, but I'd say that this patent has somehow made its way into the world of Bill Gates. Whether it was done after it was sold by Chiron, or maybe the Gates Foundation got an access to work with the patents, right? But we just see that there's all kinds of accessibility here, money, resources, structure. Here, the moon represents the emotional fuel to balance things out, theoretically. Here, the South Node is in Virgo, which means that this is probably bad medicine when it's on Vesta. And then, of course, this massive stellium all coming in and connecting in directly with Gates's, in some ways, most personal planets, Sun, Venus, Venus-Saturn conjunction, which is another money aspect, by the way. And then over here, we have Pluto right there. And Pluto is in, guess what? Bill Gates's 6th house, 5th house, 6th house. So this Pluto for this patent is in the house of health. House of health. And it's a destroyer here. It's exactly what it is. And then we have the two Chirons, which is kind of interesting, right? Because Gates has his Chiron, and what is that? He's got his Chiron at like 5 Aquarius. And we said this one's at 8 Aquarius. So Chiron conjunction. Right there. Like, that's kind of rare, actually. Gates had just come through his Chiron return. So he was turning, in 2005, he was turning 50. So he's just coming through his Chiron return. We can see that. Of course, Chiron being the name of the company that actually patented the coronavirus patent. Bada bing. So I think it's the conjunctions here that are very, very telling in a lot of ways. We can see there's, and again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually dive into this and find out what happened to the patent. And I bet you it wouldn't be that hard for me to trace that either back to Bill Gates, Gates Foundation, NIH, whoever has this patent goes to, all roads will lead to Rome here. This is right there. Right there. All right. What do we got? We got 10:16. What did I start off at? 7:45, 8:45, 9:45. We got 2 hours and 15 minutes. That's where we are time wise. Let me check in with you guys. Let's see where we're at. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just ran into one of y'all. Look at you all, look like an old man. But you're all up there doing new age stuff. You need to sit down and stay inside. Yeah, you know what? You know what? See ya. You're the type of person who probably doesn't like Brother Knit and Yonda G. You know what? I don't like you. There we go. See you later. But you can't just be reading Bill Gates without his permission. Yeah, I just did it. I'm playing by different rules. And how do you get that conclusion, through the chart or through the terrorists? I get it through my ability to cognate both. Oh, you're looking at astrology chart. I see it now. Okay, there you go. There you go. You're okay for a while, but now you're gone. Look, the man knows, like he knows about Glenn Beck. You know, you don't know shit. You don't know shit. You don't even know me. You're new to the scene. You're in timeout, buddy. Steve and Annie, come on, you got to get on that. Let's go. Yeah, troll, he's gone. Yeah, mods, yeah, come on, step it up, guys. Yeah, kiss my ass. I don't have any patience for these people right now. You know, I've been doing this for a long time, and you know, I'm not I'm not perfect, but I got a pretty good record. Okay, I got a pretty good record, and I've been doing this for a while. I got a pretty good record, so I don't need to take any shit from some Johnny come fucking lately in the chat room. Later, gone. Yep. All right. I'm out of here for now, but I'll be back tomorrow. I'll be back here with 15 minutes of flame. I'm going to try to get the new machine together here and see if we can take it out for a spin. A little spinaroo. If you want to get a reading, come to my website, robertphoenix.com. I have, it's like, you know, you got to get their permission. Oh, really? Right? You got to get their permission. Jeez. Do you think could he give me Bill Gates' fucking phone number so I can call Bill Gates up and get his permission to read his chart? Oh my God. All right. You want to get a reading? robertphoenix.com. You can find me there. I'm really busy, but it's a great time. You know, the gates are open. The gates are open. Let's put it that way. And you can find a lot of the crew over on the 11th house side of things on Facebook, right? And last but not least, Heather Eland and I are doing a webinar on Saturday. And if you haven't found that webinar, go to either my page on Facebook or Heather's page on Facebook. And Heather's got astrology stories. She's got, you know, Beyond Astrology with Heather. She's got her own web page or Facebook page. I've got my Facebook page. And then I also have the 11th house. Any one of those, or you can go to her website, Beyond Astrology with Heather. You can sign up for that webinar. And we're going to we're going to put that together this Saturday. And it's going to be great. Heather and I are really excited about it. And we're going to be looking at the astrology, you know, for the next 6 months to a year. And hopefully you'll have some pathways to figure this out, or at least wrap your arms around a little bit more. Okay. All righty. Let's get out of here. Use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open to what's possible. I'm Robert Phoenix. You are you. And have yourself a great Monday. And we'll get through this. We will definitely get through this. All right. Have a good night.